Hi, my name's Adam Clinworth. I'm doing Origin Inheritance, which is Chapter 10 out of the Tangled Web book. This is for INFA 729, Web Security. So, this chapter is pretty short. Some quick background. It goes over the about links, JavaScript links, and data links. Uh, they're basically, all three of these are, well, the about and the data are links that can create separate pages entirely, or can like throw stuff in iframes or uh, just whatever else you can think of. There's a lot of different combinations. Additional one that the book kind of mentions it, but it doesn't really go into it too much, is the Chrome link. And that's obviously specific to Chrome. Uh, and that has like the config files and all that type of stuff. I guess it's somewhat similar to the about config in Firefox, but the about config is a little bit more powerful. You can do a little bit more stuff with it. And all these they're kind of, you can think of them as pseudo URLs. They reference something locally, so they don't make requests out to a server. Therefore, if you can use them, they're faster. They make the UI a little more snappy. Um, so yeah. It's the about blank page, which is the majority of what the book talks about for the first little section. It's basically just like a blank document, pretty much. And I'm sure a lot of you have seen this before. Like you go to a page. Like the example that I'm going to use is Imager. That, like, if a page doesn't load or something like that, or if you refresh before it loads, sometimes it'll go to a about blank page and you'll lose your URL. So it's kind of inconvenient sometimes if you're trying to do something, but I guess it's also kind of useful. I guess I'm not a web programmer by trade, so I don't really know why you'd use that for like a new window, but I can definitely see the uses uh, for an iframe type thing, so that you can just add data to the iframe as you're going along, um, or as you're adding content. Basically, you just use JavaScript or something and add HTML to the iframe, which is pretty cool. Uh, that's what my one of my examples here for this is going to go over. Uh, um, so yeah, it's like I said, create iframes without any server interactions. It's faster, all that fun jazz. So when we get into the same origin policy with it, um, like a lot of it you can inherit actually quite a bit. So that basically means what inheritance means in this situation is, but like the parent can send stuff to the iframe basically, and it'll write to it. So like you can run JavaScript from the parent that'll write new stuff into there, which is cool. Again, as long as you're in the same order. Just like if you go out to like a different link, like if you go from dsu.edu and have an iframe that goes out to, I don't know, ESPN.com. You won't be able to run JavaScript under the ESPN.com origin. Um, in most cases, I can't. I haven't ran into an issue or a point where I actually can yet, but that'd be kind of cool. So first one here, um, just a simple little about page, about blank page. And what's happening here is I have just a couple simple things. Uh, just as soon as the document's opened, it just writes out the domain, which is basically the origin. So they have to match to be able to, or like the inherited or child, I guess, has to match the parent to be able to run. Uh, so what it's going to do is when you click this button, it's going to run this function here, and it's just going to print out the domain for that. So it's just same domain as where we were, adamclindrift.com. And if we go over to Firefox, this example is going to do the exact same thing. Okay, so that's that one. And that's basically all you need to know for about blank stuff. A lot of it's just playing with it. There's obviously, as you can see by this, they're very spread out on like which browser supports what, and which browser does what. Because when it was developed, I mean, the same origin policy didn't really cover this stuff, so everyone just kind of made up their own thing, which is kind of our problem in all browser-specific issues. Okay, so on to the data. And again, this is just small pieces of text you can embed in the original source code, and later, like when you click a link or something, it'll add it in, or it'll create a new document or something like that. When it's used for plugins, like it's completely undefined. So, like Flash, for example, which is the example they use in the book, it just Flash just doesn't accept it. Yeah, it rejects any attempt to use the data object or data link. But again, it's undefined, so a different plugin might do a different thing in a different browser, or it's completely up to developers. And here again, we have the graph or the table of all of what each browser supports. A lot of them are pretty good. Unique origin. I didn't explain this before, but the unique origin means that nothing can be ran under it. So like all our Chrome stuff, nothing will be able to be run in the child process. In IE, it's not supported at all. And then Opera, they pointed out this little bug. I'm not sure. I didn't check if this is still a bug. Mostly because I don't know how, to be honest. But the shared origin basically means, like, if you have multiple data pages, one data page can it can basically reference stuff on other ones. So you just have like a shared space, and if an attacker tries to get into one, they can reference stuff from another, steal information, whatever. So that's not good. We don't want that. So let's go to the first one. This is the data stuff again, and it just creates a new page. Notice it changes the URL because it's a URL. And this little attempted alert box, I couldn't actually get it to work. It's supposed to just add in an alert box. The source, it's just a couple links. And it's data, text plain. And Firefox again does same thing. Okay, so this is the second one, which is a little bit more interesting. This one, again, data, and it goes to the iframe, and it has the source equal to data, which means that Chrome will not do anything, even though this JavaScript, this function is being hit, and it's theoretically running, but it's trying to run inside the iframe and do stuff inside the iframe, so therefore it's not doing anything and not actually running. But if you go over to Firefox, it does run, and it prints that out nice and clean. Which I don't know if it's not necessarily a vulnerability, but it's, I don't know if it's quite what you want. I mean, it's kind of nice, but it's also not nice. Okay, so JavaScript and VBScript URLs just allows us to, like I said, it allows us to run arbitrary JavaScript code, VBScript code in the context of the caller, or context of the callee, or most of the JavaScript links are disabled. Like you can still run them if they're just right in the code itself and running them under that context. But if you're running them in like an iframe or a different source or a different same or a different origin, they won't work for the most part. Like I said, for the example, you can't load a page in an iframe, then call the function that page's context with JavaScript from the parent page. And that's kind of the same as the data, except it's JavaScript instead of, well, it's still JavaScript, but yeah, it's a JavaScript link. new pages and existing pages are kind of they're different. So um, like they're inherited for the most part. But existing pages, um, they're all pretty much denied except for Firefox, which creates like a null context is what they call it. But basically, what that does is it doesn't allow you to do any I/O, but you can still uh, like run mathematical like stuff behind there. So I'm not really sure what use that is for anyone. Because I mean, if you can't do any I/O, then it's kind of worthless, in my opinion. Um, yeah, and then pretty much everything else denied, um, which is awesome. So got a couple examples for this one as well. So this page, it's just a couple little things, some JavaScript. First, we're gonna run a pop-up in the parent context, which just tells us our domain we're in, and run it in the iframes context, which gives a couple pop-up boxes. You know how much we love pop-up boxes. Then we're gonna redirect the iframe, the source, to be dsu.edu, and then try to run the iframe, run the pop-up again. Doesn't work. So basically, that just means that you can't run JavaScript in that context because it's a different domain. Quick look at the source, just a couple alert boxes. For this one, it's actually changing the source to be a JavaScript link, which doesn't do anything, but it just tries to run the JavaScript. It doesn't, yeah. Leave it at that. And same thing in Firefox Quick, which does the exact same thing if I remember right. Redirects and nothing. Perfect. So quick in Firefox, this other little thing that they kind of touched on towards the end was if you have JavaScript that basically outputs a string, you can. I don't think if it's a string and it can be well-formed HTML more or less, it'll just be outputted to the browser, and it works great in Firefox. Again, this doesn't work in Chrome, so that might be 2 points for Chrome. I don't know. Maybe it's just I'm a Chrome user, so fanboy. But some more kind of just pseudo URLs. The about:config in Firefox, Chrome downloads, Chrome settings in Chrome. All these, they're basically like super pages, kind of, you can think of. They have like super rights. They can do pretty much whatever they want. They're, yeah. And then the book also mentioned the about net error bug, which was basically a bug in Firefox. Because the about pages, they can basically reference each other. So the about net error, like if you referenced a document or a URL that doesn't exist, it'll send this net error bug, or net error page, I should say. And basically, like, you can craft it in a way that lets the attacker basically grab information from other about pages. And obviously, we don't want that. So they basically fixed it by creating like a hierarchy, more or less. Yeah. Yeah. This could have been prevented by creating a hierarchy of all the same origin, or the origins. Well, that's all I got for the origin inheritance. It's fun stuff. I can honestly say I learned a lot about it, so hope you did too. Thanks.